Huggingface is the AI community powered by open source. At Supabase, we love open source, and even better, Huggingface has a platform that provides access to pre-trained models that we can use via Huggingface.js. So Huggingface.js provides this Hugging Face inference package that we can use to get started right away with a bunch of open source machine learning models. And we actually don't even need an access token to get started for this. You can literally just start the package and test out some of these models that are just available here. And so that is actually what I have here. I've made a little Hugging Face inference router here, and we can just run this locally and see kind of some of the different things that we can do here. We can do translations with this open source model T5 base. We can do text to speech. I really love this one. Using this model here, we can then provide the input hello from Supabase Edge Functions. And now let's actually start this up. So I have my Supabase server running locally, and then I can say Supabase functions serve, no verified JWT, and our environment variables. And then we can open up our function. There we go. And we have a couple things that we can test out. One of them that I really love is this text to speech. Let's see, put that in.
Hello from Supabase Edge Functions.
Hello from Supabase Edge Functions, yes. So this is really cool. Translation, I think this T5 based model can translate into German, for example. So we had the input text here. My name is Wolfgang and I live in Berlin. Mein Name ist Wolfgang und ich lebe in Berlin. Lovely. So a lot of really, really cool things that we can do here. Text to image, that's also quite interesting. Postgres, the most powerful database in the world. Not sure how, let's try this text to image. Let's see. So this one might take a bit more time. I think it's actually using, stable diffusion 2, blurry, and there we have it. There we are, Postgres, the most powerful database in the world. But what we want to do today, and I think which is really neat, is image to text. Right? Images and indexing images and searching images, you basically need to translate the image to text. But we can just use a random image from Pixum here. A man standing on a rock with a mountain. Let's trust that I was in the image. Today what we want to do is we want to run every image that we upload to Supabase Storage automatically through this Edge function and write basically the image captioning to our database table. So then we can use those image captions, for example, for implementing, full text search for images, or, if we want to go more advanced in the future, we can create embeddings out of the images and then sort of do image comparison search, basically implement image search, the sky's the limit. But let's start with image captioning. So I'll create a new project here called image captioning. Do save, use a password manager, I would recommend, and choose a secure password and save it in a password manager. And then we'll just go US East and spin up this project. Now, while that is happening, let's actually go ahead and create our new function. So we go say Supabase functions new Hugging Face image captioning. Let's do that. And so there's this need, image to text is exactly this image captioning model that we can use, and that's what we'll want to use. And so now we have our image captioning here. And so we will want to combine this with Database Webhooks. So as you know, with Supabase Storage, we actually have all our storage entities in the database. So all the metadata about storage, all our buckets, all our objects will be, the metadata text will be available here in storage. And so what we can do is we can create some triggers on this. So for example, we can say here, Database Webhooks. There's a great episode on Database Webhooks that you can check out. And we can create a webhook here on the storage objects and anytime insert. So basically anytime a new object is uploaded to storage, we can then trigger our Supabase Edge function, right? So we need to create our Edge function first. We'll do that in a second. But that's basically the pipeline that we're going to build. So we will have a public storage bucket. No, actually, okay, let's go ahead. Because in the Edge function, we can use the service role key. We'll just make it, a non-public bucket. So we'll just call it images. Save that. So what we do is, if we upload an image here, this image, you can see we then have it here in storage, but also we have it in our storage schema here in objects. You can now see we have it here, images bucket. So this is the insert trigger that we will be listening to. Now, if you remember, we had our database webhooks here. So we can pretty much just reuse this approach. So let's copy all this part out here. So our database types. And so we need to generate, this is our hello from Huggingface inference. No, this is Huggingface image captioning. And we will need to generate our database types for usage with TypeScript. And so what we can do is we can use Supabase gen types TypeScript, and we provide our project ID. So our project ID we get from here. And then we can say schema equals storage. And I believe that should be it. And then we need to pipe these into Supabase functions, Huggingface, image captioning, types.ts. Let's do that. And so what you can see now is we have our types.ts file database here. And so now we have, I did the flag wrong, sorry. This needs to be, schema needs to be an input flag. Here we go. Let's try this again. There we go. And now we have our storage table, buckets, all of that good stuff in our objects. And so now what we can do is this will be our storage object record. and we will use, let's go from database, storage, we will use the tables, and there is tables objects, and then specifically the row. So that's our storage object record. Maybe that's a bit of a mouthful. Let's call it SO storage record. Actually, SO. Let's put that here. We're only using the insert trigger, really. I mean, in the future, maybe, yeah, okay, fair enough. Maybe in the future we'll implement update and delete as well. But yeah, to start with, we'll use the insert trigger. And then basically what we want to do is we get our let's call this payload is our webhook payload. So that's the JSON payload that's being sent from our database webhook trigger. And then let's just respond with OK. Actually don't need any headers for sending an OK. And then there's a couple things that we want to do here. Is we want to construct image URL from storage. Then we want to run image captioning with Huggingface. And then lastly, we want to store image caption in database. Okay, so for the last part, we need to create a database table. What we can do is, so in our public schema, we will create a new table. We'll call it image caption. And so this is our captions for images in storage. Yeah, we can use row level security. We'll, just accessing it from our Edge functions right now. And then, so the ID will be a UUID, and this will reference our storage objects ID, right? And if we delete an object, an image in storage, then we also want to cascade the delete to our caption to have that all cleanly mapped out. So we can use that here, which is really neat. And then this will be our caption. And for that, we just use text. And we'll say is not nullable. So if we have a record here, it needs to have a caption. And then we can save this table. So now that we have our new image caption table, we want to pull down the types for this as well. So what we can do is we can rerun our gen types, and we can say storage as well as public. So we can just provide a comma separated list here. And now we're just rerunning our type generation, and now we have our image captioning in here as well, which is really, really neat. Yes, and then so we have this here, and we will need to import Supabase, import from Supabase.js. Now I have an import map here. So this is where my functions, I have an import map. This is where my Supabase at Supabase.js. We have a video on import maps as well, so you can read up on that, look up on that, catch up on that. But yeah, so this is what is referencing the Supabase.js client. And so we can say create client. And what we want is construct image URL from storage. So for that, we will need our Supabase client. So I think we have in this one, image storage. Yeah, so we have a Supabase client in here. So this is an admin client because it is using the service role key. So this can perform all our admin actions, right? Okay, so we don't need to set our environment variables. These are automatically, once we deploy our function, they are automatically injected. And so now the last thing is we want to type our client. And so really we can just import our generated types here from our database types. And then the only thing we have to do is pipe in the types to the client, and we have a typed client here. This blows my mind every time. Amazing. Great. So now we want the URL. So we can say Supabase admin client storage from, and the from will be our payload dot record. Let's actually pull out the record. Was a const storage record equals payload dot record. And so now we can have our storage record dot, and that would be our bucket ID. So our bucket ID is the name of the bucket, so images, so from images, and then we want to create a signed URL because our bucket is not public. So we create a signed URL and expires the number of seconds. Yeah, I think, for example, 60 URL, 60 seconds would be valid for a minute. Yeah, that math adds up. And so we need the path. So the path will be our record, storage record. And then we have this path tokens, which is an array of basically the nesting. And so we'll need to join the path tokens with a slash. So basically that's the path within the bucket. So if we have some subfolders in there, and then we say 60 seconds, that should be plenty. Probably actually can do shorter than that if we're concerned, but let's start with that. And then we can do so this we need to await because we're generating it, and then we have our data, and then we could have an error. Well, if we have an error, we'll just throw error for now, and then we say const I believe data, we should have the signed URL. There we are. Okay, and so now we can use this signed URL to run our image through Hugging Face, and we can copy this here. So we're just importing the Huggingface.js inference package from via ESM. Now, obviously, we can add that to our import map as well as if we want. And then the neat thing is we don't need a token if we just getting started, but otherwise you can get your token from the settings, from your Hugging Face account settings, and can set that as an environment variable. And so now we're running this through Hugging Face. So I'm just copying out here. The image to text is what we want. And we're just getting our image description out. There we are. And so here we're basically then fetching the signed URL. So fetching from storage our image, running it through our image captioning, and we're getting our image description. And actually our image description is of type, if we go back and look at this, we have the generated text of type string. Great. And so now we get our image description. So in the last step, what we need to do is we need to write to Supabase. And because we have our type client here, we get image caption dot, we can insert, and we get our full auto completion here. That's so amazing. So so record dot ID, and then the caption is our image description dot generated text. There we have it, and we just need to await this. And we can do this throw on error as a shortcut if we want. And yeah, that should be pretty much it. So we have our database webhook ready to go for any time we insert a new storage record. We then get out a signed URL to access the image in storage. We run it through Hugging Face image captioning model, and we write our image description, image caption to the database. All right, so this should be working. Let's go ahead and deploy this to our newly created project. So we'll need to link Supabase link. We'll need to provide our project -rev. This is where your database password comes in handy. So, save that, access it from your password manager, paste it in, and then we finish Supabase link. And now we can say Supabase functions deploy Hugging Face image captioning. All right, we get our image captioning deployed to our Supabase project. Here we are. We'll be able to look at the logs. And so now what we need to do is in database, we can set up our database webhook. We create a webhook. We'll call it image captioning. We'll select our storage objects. Anytime we insert, we make a post request to our Hugging Face image captioning, and we want to add here our auth header. So we have the JWT in it, and that should be it. We're creating the webhook. Great, and so now this should be all hooked up. So in our bucket, let's see if Hugging Face can recognize some grapes. So we'll upload our grapes. So we're uploading. So now as we're uploading to Supabase storage, oh, that was our bike. So here are our grapes. Now we have in our storage bucket objects, we have the new object in there. Yeah, there's our image. And so now if everything went according to plan, we have a new record. There we are, a large amount of red and white wine in a bottle. Okay, maybe let's try this again, this model. Maybe the grapes were a little too, how do we say? Too plentiful. Let's see what other images we have. Maybe that is a better one. Let's upload this. Now these are just random royalty-free images from Pixum. And okay, let's go back, image caption, refresh, a person standing on top of a grass-covered field. Yeah, I mean, it's not really standing, but okay. Charm is 3. No, we used the grapes already. Let's see. Okay, maybe let's actually run the bike through it. I think there we are. This is fun though. I mean, isn't this pretty amazing? Let's delete this first because it didn't select the update trigger. Okay, let's try this. And let's see, image caption, refreshing. I mean, this is a bit better, right? It's, I mean, the bicycle itself is not red, it's white. Parked in front of a red brick building. Red brick building is pretty accurate. So there you go. I mean, you get this stuff for free right now, right here. So yes, but this is basically how you can hook kind of all the different services together. So we're using storage to save our files, Edge Functions with Database Webhooks to then run our images through a free open source model on Hugging Face using Huggingface.js, and we're writing it back to our Postgres database. Now, this is the power of the Supabase stack and the entire open source ecosystem. If you're interested in seeing some more content with Hugging Face, let us know in the comments what you'd like to see, and we'll work with the team over there to get it to you. Thanks for tuning in, and see you soon.